what we were planning on didn't end up happening because it was problems after problems.
Hey, welcome to Voices on the Wind. I'm Toby Lyles, and this is my son, Maverick Lyles.
Maverick Lyles, yeah.
Maverick Lyles. I run a podcast production company. We do consulting. We work with people all over the world.
And I run bricks and mortar logos, which I might change the name of, but pretty much because we do logos, but we don't really just do logos. I mean, we do Lego logos,
bricks and mortar logos,
and brickheads, and squirrels, and yeah,
you make a really cute little Lego cat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
very popular.
Yeah, they're very popular. And then I do Lego creations for people and Lego builds. And pretty good at that.
You just did a couple who Valentine's couple. Like their picture together in Lego, and then for Valentine's Day they put it together.
So you can get yourself and then your girlfriend or whatever.
It's custom.
Bam.
That's romantic.
Yeah, and this little heart too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't think she's gonna fall in love and get married to you if you do that?
I'd get it.
Yeah. That was a win on his part. So. That's anyway. So today we're talking not about that. We're talking about Tate Schrock, who is another young entrepreneur. Before we get to that, we have an email list. We'd love you to jump on. It's at Substack, so it's Voices of the Wind, which is VOTW. If you abbreviate that, that's VOTW, which is maybe easier for some, maybe not. So VOTW.substack.com. And we'll be giving you some great info on that. We're going to keep you updated with the podcast here and stuff we're learning. I've been learning quite a bit, just talking with people, a lot of just inspirational things and some real tactile things too. So I'm hoping to do some writing on there. And if we get lucky, we get some from you too, Maverick.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. So we have Tate today, which is pretty exciting. He has a cool story. I mean, reverse engineering then a balloon and then putting it back in the sky. I mean, it didn't work the first time, but it worked the second time. I don't get that. That's amazing. So,
and it did work the first time.
I mean, it did. It just didn't work as they expected.
Not like he wanted it
but
to.
He got it in the air.
Yeah.
And it worked. And he just has a great story of just doing what seems fairly impossible in my mind. But he's like, well, it's easy. I don't get that. So I'm pretty excited. He has a cool story of just how he builds from just being a farmer to sending balloons into space, and that's pretty crazy. So got him today.
Yeah, I want to go to space.
Yeah.
Someday soon. When I was in high school, I had the poster up on my wall. Well done is better than well said.
Yeah.
With the logo, the image of the first moon print on the moon. So whether you're a conspiracy theorist or not, still inspirational. All right, so here we go with Tate Schrock.
I grew up on a farm in Northeast Colorado. There on the farm, you learn all what it takes to be a rancher, a farmer, and all the various other things in between. But the biggest thing that you learn is how to problem solve, how to endure, how to persevere through difficult challenges, and how to actually get to a point to where you can look back and you can say you achieved something. You achieved that problem that needed to be solved. You persevered far enough, you can see the other side. Very young, I had ideas of making businesses, solving problems, building products, building solutions. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I solved problems. I created innovative solutions for things that nobody's seen before. And while, yes, it was small, though it was a foundational sort of road map, looking at things a bit differently. Instead of just looking at the world as it's already solved, instead look for the problems in the world. Look for the things that don't really work perfectly, that don't really work exactly how it should be.
Well, you talked about tractors.
Yes.
So, so I've got a friend in the tractor business, and he said he's got a bunch of old folks that they can't fix their tractors anymore, and they're complaining because they used to be able to.
Yep.
Right. It was just mechanics. You can wrench on an engine, no problem.
Yep.
That's not the way it is today. But you helped people solve those problems.
The farming industry, with the advent of new technology, it makes life simpler. But at the same time, when it goes down, when it breaks, it's very hard to fix because you arguably don't know where to start in some cases. In other cases, it's rather simple and obvious. Where I started going into all of that is when we had a tractor break in the middle of a field, or when we had an issue with some electronic component on the farm. I would sit there, look at it, figure out why it's actually throwing that problem, and then determine, can I fix it or can I not fix it? If I could, I would try, but not break it in the process. And if I did break it in the process, that starts another can of worms of, can you fix the break and fix the problem at the same time? A lot of this as well is learning by trying, learning by failure, and sometimes it's not even failure, but the learning process is always the most valuable.
What motivated you to fix stuff?
I would say most of it came from my parents. They would see a problem break down on the farm, and with being on the farm, you're very far away from anybody that can help. We lived, what was it? It was probably an hour plus from the closest store you could actually get any parts from. Say a piece breaks in the middle of the field. Good luck. If you don't have the tools with you to fix it, you may not make it home in some cases, and that's just kind of what farming is and what ranching is. So you always have to be able to think on your feet, but be able to be creative enough to go into those harder problems with maybe you don't have everything available at your fingertips right now. Can you still make it work? Can you still make a tangible, meaningful impact or solve the problem by what little you do have until you get what you do need?
So you've kind of briefly told me a story. You've written about this quite a bit. So just tell everybody what happened with the balloon, and I'm looking for how did it feel? Why did that strike the fire?
So a little over 4, 5, 6 years ago, I can't remember at this time, one day out of nowhere, a weather balloon fell into my front yard, not far off the actual house itself. And being out there, you're familiar with weather balloons. They land, but they're very far and few in between. Where you'll pick them up is you'll be riding in a tractor and you'll see an orange little parachute out there in the field with a white box connected to it.
Okay.
So
this isn't the first time this has happened.
It isn't the first time it's happened, but it's the first unique time that it's actually landed in my front yard. These balloons were launched out of Denver. It's over a 2-hour drive to Denver. But these balloons go up to 100,000 feet. They get carried by winds, both on a tropospheric level and a stratospheric level, and they go various different places. It's very unusual for it to be that close. Well, and in that case, it was a very unique case because what I did with that box, cracked it open, looked inside of it, understood the components, reverse engineered to my understanding, though it was more of a understand what was inside of it and then make it better. Because what I noticed in all of those radio sondes is the limitations of them.
A radio sonde is the
actual flight computer. Yep,
computer.
Is the box.
Okay.
And what I did from there is it's very interesting because at the same time that you notice them on the ground, you can also hear them in radio frequencies. So if you tune an antenna, pick up a various different radio, I can actually tune into it. From there, I actually started tracking them. Before that time, I never really knew how to track them. And usually when they land in the field, it's usually maybe a year, 2 years before you'll ever notice it. Okay. So by that time, they're destroyed. They're either water damaged, beaten up, or even baked into the actual dirt itself. So this was the first usable actual radio sonde that was in proper working condition. So throughout all of that, I started to get an understanding of what was actually inside, what it took to actually make a radio sonde. You have to have positioning, telemetry link, environmental sensing, a battery pack, and a little bit of redundancy with a microcontroller. Basic components. So from there, I started dabbling with some off-the-shelf electronics kits and to actually making a semi-functional concept. What was very interesting to me was the exploring the beyond, exploring the edge of space.
Okay.
So to actually make what seemed to me at the time is basically rocket technology or similar to that, taking that, building it, and then attaching it to a balloon, throwing a parachute on there, sending it up, but being able to track it in real time on a map and be able to know exactly where it is, what it's sensing.
It sounds like this is space exploration. in a different way.
Pretty much is near space. It's at 100,000 feet. So it's up there.
As close as we can get with the balloon.
Close as you can get with a balloon.
And accessible. So you reverse engineered it. Did you like buy some parts and then put one together?
Correct. It wasn't as good as the professional series.
Ugly. I doubt you had duct tape on the outside.
Yep. It had duct tape.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So that launch happened, and when you're there with the balloon behind schedule, because that's usually how the first launch goes, and not only that, but what we were planning on didn't end up happening because it was problems after problems. And then we noticed, we can't really do it this way. So we ended up slimming down the package even farther than what we had anticipated.
It's too big.
Too big, too heavy.
Too heavy.
And so,
but you didn't know it was too heavy because you had to invest in helium. And you're probably not just throwing helium in it like, no problem, right?
That's correct. So calculations are a bit off. Expectations were a bit high. But at the same time, by the end of the day, we still had a balloon in the air.
What did you expect?
I expected an easy flight. I expected it to have contact the entire time. What ended up happening, though, is that a little past the maximum altitude, it started, or a little before the maximum altitude, actually, it started to lose contact. I couldn't tell which at the time. And from my understanding, based on when it landed, it was that the batteries froze. And so it killed the entire system. So we lost it mid-flight.
Interesting.
So we lost the payload in the middle of the flight, a little before the middle of the flight, and didn't really know where it was going. We had an expectation of where it was going to go, but even then, once we launched, our predictions were completely off. Our calculations are completely off. And with all of that, we lost it. It landed somewhere, we think, around a certain town, and we're not really sure. We expected it to be gone completely. All the investment of that equipment gone. A couple days later, we actually got a phone call of somebody who said, I found your balloon off the side of the road. It was in my little grass pasture. That was just part of the learning experience. And then going from there is, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? How do we make sure our batteries don't freeze? How do we make sure we don't lose it mid-flight?
You knew what you wanted to study at that point in regards to this business. Did that affect your?
So before college started, I wasn't even planning on continuing business. About 20 days before college started, in my mind, I had it set that I'm going to have to go to college. And then I guess I'm going to.
You didn't want to.
And I didn't really want to at the time.
Okay.
And if I did go to college, it would be for something technology. Get a better understanding of how to program, get a better understanding of how computers work, stuff like that. And then between all of that, I changed my mind. And 6 days before college started, I got what seemed to me as though a better idea. And I took entrepreneurship. If I would have taken the technology sort of side of things, I'm not sure whether I would have started a business or not. Sure, I had inclinations, but the better choice was to actually start getting my toes in the water. And that's what the entrepreneurship class allowed me to do.
Okay, so you started originally with teachers, right?
Correct.
And because your thought was STEM training. Were you still on that track when you're thinking the community college here? When did you shift from aiming at the education market to something broader?
Around the rebrand. So at the start of college, I expanded it out into hobbyists, into academics, and more so researchers.
Because
that made more sense. Simply limiting.
Did people ask you, or did you just see a wider market?
I saw a wider market. Simply constraining the company to a certain selective teachers and a certain regions and certain class sizes and all that didn't make sense. The product was capable of much more. The solution was capable of much more. So that's where it got expanded into offering all the rest of that.
I'm interested. We talked a little bit about your family and your childhood. Maybe it's too close to. I don't know if that even makes sense. My question is, how did your parents, or even what will impact your parenting, or something like that, in your childhood that affected your your desire to be an entrepreneur? Like, there's got to be parents who are out here going, I would love to see my kid do something like Tate did. Tell me the secret.
There is no secret.
That's not, it's a bad question, but I am looking for those traits or anything you can see.
It was more implied.
Okay.
Unsaid, but when it comes down to it and you have to get a job done, get the job done.
Okay.
But when it comes down to it and you got a time crunch that you're working with in various different things, get it done. Get it done on time to where the problem's solved. Otherwise, you never get the problem solved.
How do you gain relationships and then how do you develop those? We obviously have friends that we meet, but then there's more. So
I don't know. I have a very interesting look at that as well, is that simply knowing people doesn't solve problems. Knowing people that can solve problems solves problems. Having good relationships to where you can bounce ideas off with one another, go into other contemplations and making ideas and making plans. And that's more useful than having a large network. With a small set of individuals, may just be the perfect match.
Small set of good friends.
Small set of good friends, contacts, stuff like that. This is aside of all the economic factors, all other personal limitations, and aside from all the other things which keep people from doing what they're actually destined to do. Is that, do you listen to others when they tell you you can't? You don't have enough. You can't be enough. You'll never make it. Or do you say, maybe I can?
That's a great illustration right there. And I think you even mentioned that in your book, which shout out.
I had.
It's your book.
It's Choose on Amazon.
I mean, there are a lot of toxic people out there. So there are a lot of people you don't want to share your ideas with. But somehow you seem to have developed relationships and found people who are not toxic. I'm assuming you can only share things with yourself and your mom, right? Like there's more than that. Well, it's true. Probably there are some things. So is there any qualifications? Like, how do you find somebody that you're like, I think I can trust them? Or maybe warnings. Don't share with
it
this
simply
person.
comes down to, don't put your blindfolds on all the time. Don't keep your fingers in your ears, and pay attention. How they say it, what they say, when they say it, and from there you'll develop the discernment necessary to find out the character of a person.
Really, really like that interview with Tate. Tate, thank you so much for taking the time. And he helped with a little bit with this interview. We edited it down a bit. He actually had a ton more to say. So if you have a moment, make sure you contact with Tate, see what he's up to, go look into his company, perhaps order some stuff. One thing I like that he's doing is he's doing a bunch of projects, like STEM projects for classes. So if you're a teacher, make sure you contact Tate and get some of those ordered up for your classes. You can essentially have a space mission for your class, which is way cooler than stuff I did. I did some cool stuff, but that's way cool.
That's definitely way cooler, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think I learned from Tate it's the natural kind of weird bents. Not that they're weird, but sometimes I like to tinker with stuff too, you know. And that ended up, he just followed that passion and let it be natural. And of course, he made a business out of it. So I was impressed by that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, same. I think, like how he's just like, I want to do this. And then he did it. And then he succeeded like crazy. And he just kept going, even when it got hard.
Mm-hmm.
That is the mark of a good businessman right there. Keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do. We want to keep going. And that's what our encouragement is to you, is just keep going, keep pressing on. You do have what it takes. It will work. Keep pressing on. Until then, happy sailing.
Yeah.